Welcome, dear dreamers, to Arabian Epic Tales. Tonight, we journey beneath the moon's silver glow, where a love so pure reached beyond the stars. Stay till the end, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. Now, let's begin the timeless legend of Moonlight Princess, the legend of Kaguya *. In a quiet valley surrounded by whispering bamboo and silver mist, there lived an old bamboo cutter named Takatori and his gentle wife Ono. Their days were simple, filled with the rustle of bamboo leaves and the creak of Takatori's knife slicing through emerald stalks. They had lived many years together, their hearts bound by love. But one sorrow followed them always. They had no child to fill their small home with laughter. Each dawn, Takatori ventured deep into the forest with his lantern swinging from a pole. He had grown used to the silence of his work. But one evening, as the golden sun began to sink, a strange light shimmered between the stalks. It wasn't the soft light of fireflies or the pale gleam of moonrise. It was brighter, purer, as if a star had fallen to earth. Curiosity pulled him forward. The light seemed to come from inside a single stalk of bamboo, so radiant that its green skin glowed like glass. His old hands trembled as he raised his knife. What heavenly thing could hide within? He whispered, his voice trembling between awe and fear. With the careful cut, the bamboo split open, and inside, nestled in its hollow heart, sat a tiny girl, no bigger than his thumb. She wore robes woven of light itself, her skin soft as petals, her eyes like drops of dawn. The glow that surrounded her filled the grove with warmth and peace. Takatori fell to his knees. A blessing from the gods, he murmured. Ono must see this. He lifted the little girl carefully in his palms. To his astonishment, as he held her, the light did not blind him, it comforted him. Wrapping him in serenity, he hurried home through the forest path, heart racing with both wonder and disbelief. When Ono saw the child in his hands, her eyes filled with tears. She had dreamed for years of a child to call her own, and now heaven had sent one in the most miraculous way. Look, my love, she whispered, voice trembling. She smiles. Indeed, the tiny girl smiled at them, a smile so tender, it seemed to erase the years of longing carved into their hearts. They placed her gently in a small basket lined with soft silk. That night, the cottage glowed with a faint silver light, as though the moon itself had chosen to rest upon their roof. The couple could not sleep. They took turns watching over the child, whispering words of love and gratitude. By morning, something even more astonishing had happened. The tiny girl had grown, no longer thumb-sized. She was the size of a normal infant, her hair black as ink, her skin luminous. Within days, she grew faster than any human child, as if time itself bowed before her. The villagers began to whisper that the bamboo cutter's home was touched by the divine Takatori, and Ono named her Kaguya, meaning radiant night, for her beauty seemed to bloom under the moon's gaze. They raised her with gentle care, though both felt deep inside that she was not entirely of their world. Sometimes, late at night, they would find her standing outside beneath the moonlight, staring upward with an expression too old, too knowing, for a child. From that day onward, fortune blessed Takatori's family. Every time he cut bamboo, he found nuggets of gold or shimmering jewels hidden within the stalks. Soon they had enough to build a fine home, with rice fields that shone in the sun and silks that flowed like water. Yet despite all their new riches, the couple remained humble, for they knew their truest treasure was the mysterious girl from the glowing bamboo. As Kaguya grew, so did her beauty. Her laughter carried through the forest like music, and even the flowers seemed to lean toward her as she passed. The villagers began to call her the Maiden of Light, believing she was blessed by the moon. But sometimes, when no one was watching, Takatori would find her sitting alone beneath the stars, her fingers tracing shapes in the air, as if she remembered something far beyond the clouds. When he asked what troubled her, she would smile softly and say, "Father, sometimes the moon feels like home." He would laugh gently, ruffling her dark hair. "This is your home, little one. The moon may shine upon us, but you belong here with us." Kaguya nodded, but in her eyes shimmered a secret, a loneliness no earthly love could reach. And above them, the moon hung heavy and bright, its silver light reflecting in her gaze like a memory she could not forget. That night, the bamboo groves glowed faintly once more, whispering to the wind, as if the heavens themselves were watching over the child of moonlight, who had come to live among mortals. Years passed, and the once tiny girl from the glowing bamboo became a young woman of breathtaking beauty. Kaguya was unlike anyone in the land. Her skin shimmered faintly, even in darkness, and her long, black hair caught the moonlight as if spun from threads of night itself. When she smiled, even the birds hushed their songs to listen. Her adoptive parents, Takatori and Ono, watched her grow with pride and a trace of fear, for there was something otherworldly about her. She spoke with wisdom far beyond her years and often asked questions that no one could answer about the stars, the heavens, and the reason humans must age and die. Though she loved her parents dearly, Kaguya often wandered to the hilltops at night, staring at the moon as though it whispered secrets meant only for her. Sometimes, she would hum melodies no one had ever heard before, songs filled with both longing and sorrow. When Ono asked where she learned them, Kaguya would only smile and say softly, They come to me when the moon is full. Word of her beauty spread like wildfire across the provinces. Travelers passing through the bamboo village spoke of a maiden whose radiance outshone any jewel, whose eyes seemed to hold the light of another world. Soon, noblemen and lords began to appear at the humble home of the bamboo cutter, their carriages rolling through the forest paths, their servants bearing gifts of silk and gold. Each wished to catch a glimpse of the Maiden of Light, and when they did, they were left speechless. Some bowed deeply and declared that no mortal could compare to her grace. Others wept openly, overcome by the strange sorrow they felt in her presence, as if her beauty reminded them of something they had lost long ago. Takatori and Ono, though simple people, grew anxious. "We are poor folk," Ono said nervously one morning, as another lord arrived with precious jade and silver fans. "How can we host such men of rank?" But Kaguya, ever gentle, would receive them with humility. Her kindness only deepened their fascination. 5 noblemen, each of great wealth and influence, became her most persistent suitors. They begged her father to let them marry her, offering palaces, gardens, and riches beyond imagining. Takatori was torn. He wanted happiness for Kaguya, but feared what such a life would bring. "My daughter," he said one evening, as they sat beside the lantern's soft glow, "you could live in splendor. Why do you refuse them all?" Kaguya's gaze remained fixed on the moon outside the window. "Because their eyes speak of possession, not of love," she said quietly. "And besides," she hesitated, her voice dropping to a whisper, "I do not belong here, father, not truly." The old man's heart ached at her words. He reached for her hand, warm and delicate as a flower petal. "You are my daughter Kaguya. No matter where you came from, this is your home." Kaguya smiled faintly. "Then let me stay here a while longer, until the moon calls me back." Her words confused him, but before he could ask, a soft wind brushed through the room, and the lantern flame flickered. For just an instant, Takatori thought he saw a faint glow radiating from her skin, like the light of a hidden moon trying to shine through her dot. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure from the noblemen grew. They sent letters, songs, and poets to win her heart. Yet Kaguya's replies were always gentle but firm. "If your love is true, bring me the treasures that exist only in legends, not for their worth, but for the proof of your devotion." Thus began the 5 impossible tasks, a test that would reveal the truth behind every man's desire. The first prince was to bring a jeweled branch from the tree of paradise that grows in the farthest reaches of heaven. The second was to find the pelt of a fire rat, said to be woven with flames that never die. The third sought a dragon's jewel, guarded in the sea by storms and serpents. The fourth was tasked with finding a swallow's shell, hidden in the depths of its nest among the clouds. The fifth was to bring a beggar's bowl that never empties, a symbol of humility and eternal giving. Each prince swore he would succeed, boasting of his courage and devotion. Yet, as they left, Kaguya's heart felt heavy. She knew none would return with truth, only lies and pride. That night, she looked again at the moon, full, silver, and impossibly distant. Her reflection glimmered in her teacup like a ghostly twin. She whispered to the sky, that followed, "Why do you call to me? Restless anticipation. Why must my heart remember a place I cannot see?" And in the silence that followed, the impossible challenges given by Princess Kaguya, as though answering her with light. In every province, people whispered of their quests, some calling them foolish, others calling them brave. But only Kaguya knew the truth. She had not asked for treasures, but for sincerity. And that, she feared, none of them truly possessed. The first prince, a man of proud lineage, claimed he would travel beyond the seas to the tree of paradise, where jeweled branches sparkled like stars. He promised to bring one back to adorn Kaguya's hair. For months, there was no word of him. Then, one spring evening, a messenger arrived at Takatori's home. Carrying a chest wrapped in silk. Inside lay a branch of gold and silver, its leaves tipped with gems that shimmered like morning dew. The villagers gasped in awe. "Surely this is from heaven itself," they cried, but Kaguya's eyes saw through its beauty. She touched the branch lightly and felt the faint warmth of human craft. "This was forged by hands, not born of paradise," she said. Her words proved true. That night, servants of the prince arrived, demanding payment for their labor. The jeweled branch was a clever forgery. When the truth spread, the prince's pride crumbled, and he fled in shame, his love exposed as vanity. The second prince, eager to outshine the rest, set his sights on the fire rat's pelt, said to be woven from eternal flame. He journeyed to foreign lands and returned months later with a bundle wrapped in gold cloth. "This," he declared proudly, "is the pelt that no fire can burn. Test it if you doubt me." Kaguya's gaze was calm. "Then, let it prove itself." They placed the pelt upon a brazier of glowing coals. For a moment, it seemed to shimmer untouched, but then smoke rose, and the furs shriveled into ash. The prince paled, realizing he had been deceived by merchants who sold him false wonders. He bowed in humiliation and left, his pride burned away with the pelt. The third prince was clever and cunning. He claimed he would retrieve the dragon's jewel, a gem said to gleam within the sea dragon's brow. He gathered a fleet of ships and sailed into stormy waters. But weeks later, his men returned, alone. The sea had swallowed their master, leaving only shattered masts and the echo of thunder. When Kaguya heard, she wept silently. She had not wished for anyone to die for her sake. Her heart grew heavier, her nights longer. Each moon seemed to pull her closer toward something she could neither name nor escape. The fourth prince, a poet by nature, sought the swallow's shell. Said to lie within the bird's nest high among the clouds. He tried to climb mountains, hired climbers and hunters, even built contraptions to reach the skies. But in his obsession, he fell from a great height and broke his body. From his bed, he sent Kaguya a single note. Your beauty was a light I could never reach, like the moon reflected in water. Forgive my folly. Kaguya's tears fell upon the parchment, leaving faint circles of sorrow. The fifth prince, the most humble in speech but the most deceitful in heart, promised to find the beggar's bowl that never empties. After many months, he returned with a small, ancient bowl carved from stone. This, he said, fills itself with rice no matter how many times one eats. Kaguya took it gently. Then let us see. She filled it with rice and offered it to the hungry villagers. But soon, the bowl was empty and stayed so. The prince's lie was clear. It is not my fault, he cried. Such things cannot be found. Nor can true devotion, Kaguya replied softly. The prince turned away, furious at his failure, and never returned. As the seasons turned, the five princes' fates became legends told around village fires, tales of pride, greed, and broken hearts. But for Kaguya, they were heavy memories. Each deceit deepened her loneliness. She began to dream of silver skies and palaces of light. When she awoke, tears glistened on her cheeks, though she could not remember why. Her parents noticed her growing sorrow. Ono tried to cheer her with new silk robes and festival lanterns, but nothing brightened her eyes. One night, as the wind sighed through the bamboo grove, Takatora found her standing outside, bathed in moonlight. My child, he said softly, why does the moon make you weep? Kaguya turned toward him, her face glowing faintly, almost translucent. Because it calls to me, father, she whispered, and one day soon, I will have to answer. By the time the five noble suitors had all failed, the legend of Princess Kaguya had reached every corner of the land. Stories of her beauty spread to the imperial court like a soft wind carrying the scent of distant blossoms. Poets sang of her radiance. Artists painted her likeness without ever having seen her. And soon, the tale reached the ears of His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Japan. He was a wise ruler, known for his fairness and curiosity. Yet, when he heard that a woman's beauty could rival the moon itself, something stirred within him, not the desire of conquest, but a yearning he could not explain. A woman of such grace must be more than mortal, he said to his ministers. I will see her with my own eyes. One spring morning, the royal procession wound through the bamboo forest toward the home of the humble bamboo cutter. The sound of drums and the clatter of horses echoed among the trees. Villagers knelt as the emperor's golden palanquin passed, wondering what fortune or fate had brought such grandeur to their quiet valley. When Takatori and his wife saw the imperial crest outside their gate, they fell to their knees in awe. Rise, said the emperor kindly, stepping down from his palanquin. His presence was both gentle and commanding, his eyes thoughtful as they wandered over the small house and its garden. I have heard tales, he said, of a maiden found within a glowing bamboo stalk, a daughter of light. I have come to see if such beauty truly walks among mortals. Kaguya stepped forward then, her robe pale as mist, her hair flowing like a dark river. The moment she appeared, even the wind seemed to pause. The emperor, who had seen the most exquisite courtiers in his palace, found himself breathless. Her beauty was not merely of the body, it radiated from within, soft yet overwhelming, like the first full moon of spring rising over still waters. He bowed deeply. So the tales were true, he said quietly. You are no ordinary woman. Kaguya met his gaze with calm grace. And yet, my lord, I am as human as you, bound to this world for a time. Her voice was gentle but tinged with sadness. The emperor visited often after that day. He came not with soldiers or gifts, but with poems, music, and conversation. In her presence, he found peace. They spoke of the stars, of the changing seasons, of life and its brief beauty. When he asked why she never attended court, she only smiled. Because the palace walls would keep me from the sky, she said. Sometimes they would walk among the bamboo in silence, the moonlight dappling the ground around them. The emperor felt something new, not the possessive desire that had driven the other suitors, but a deep, aching affection. One evening, beneath a rising full moon, he spoke the words he could no longer hold back. Kaguya, he said softly, be my empress. Come with me to the palace. You will have all that this world can give. Kaguya looked up at the silver moon, and her eyes filled with quiet sorrow. My lord, she whispered, your heart is kind, and I cherish your friendship more than you know. But I cannot belong to this world of men. The moon calls to me a voice I cannot silence. The emperor frowned gently. You speak in riddles, my lady. What call could be stronger than the heart's wish? Kaguya's gaze met his, luminous and steady. One that comes from where I once belonged, she said. I was sent here for reasons I do not remember, but my time is ending. When the next full moon rises, they will come for me. The emperor's heart tightened. They, who are they? But she only turned away, her face bathed in pale light. "My people," she whispered, "the ones who dwell beyond the clouds." After that night, the emperor left in silence, his thoughts heavy as the mist. He sent word to the capital that none should disturb the bamboo cutter's home. Yet in his heart, he could not let her go. He wrote her letters, gentle words filled with longing. Kaguya replied with poems of gratitude, her words carrying both love and farewell. "Though bound by earth, my heart drifts toward the sky. When you gaze upon the moon, think of me, and I shall be near." The emperor read her words beneath the moonlight, tears glistening in his eyes. He knew now that she was not a woman of this earth, but something divine, sent only to remind humankind of beauty's fleeting light. And in the nights that followed, when the moon rose high over the palace, he would look up and whisper her name, Kaguya, and imagine that somewhere beyond that silver glow, she looked back. Summer turned to autumn, and though the air grew cooler, Kaguya's sorrow deepened like a gathering storm. Each night she stood longer beneath the moon, her eyes reflecting its silvery glow, her lips moving in whispers no one could understand. The villagers began to notice her fading joy. She smiled less, spoke softly, and seemed to drift farther away with every passing day. Her parents, Takatori and Ono, watched in fear. "She hardly eats," Ono murmured one night as they sat by the fire. "She walks in her sleep and weeps without reason. I fear she is ill." Takatori, his heart heavy, nodded. "She said once the moon calls to her. Perhaps some spirit seeks to steal her away." That very night, Kaguya called them both to her chamber. Her face glowed faintly, as if the moonlight itself clung to her skin. "Father, mother," she said, her voice trembling, "I can no longer hide the truth. I must tell you who I truly am." They exchanged frightened glances, but she continued before they could speak. "I am not of this world," she said softly. "Long ago, I was sent here from the kingdom of the moon. I do not remember my sin, but this life among humans was my punishment and my blessing. For the first time, I knew love, sorrow, and the warmth of human hearts." Ono gasped, covering her mouth, and Takatori shook his head as tears filled his eyes. "You are our daughter," he said firmly. "Whatever you were before, you belong here with us. You were given to us by heaven." Kaguya knelt before them, taking their weathered hands in hers. "And I will always love you," she whispered. "But when the next full moon rises, they will come for me. My people will descend in a chariot of light to take me home." The old couple clung to her, crying, "We will not let them." Ono said fiercely, "We will hide you, we will beg the emperor to protect you." But Kaguya only smiled, her eyes wet with love and sorrow. "No mortal can stop them. Mother, their light cannot be blocked, and their will cannot be denied." The days that followed were filled with dread. Kaguya tried to live as before, helping in the garden, weaving with her mother, or reading poetry by lamplight. Yet there was a strange serenity in her, as if she had already accepted her fate. At times, she would stop and gaze into the distance, whispering, "I can hear their songs now." Faintly, beyond the clouds, Takatori, desperate to save her, rode to the capital to seek help from the emperor. When he arrived, weary and dust-covered, he bowed before the throne and pleaded, "My lord, they mean to take my daughter from me, beings from the moon. Please, protect her." The emperor's face grew pale. He remembered Kaguya's words, "When the next full moon rises, they will come for me." Without hesitation, he ordered a guard of 2,000 soldiers to surround Takatori's home on the night of the full moon. "No harm shall come to her," he declared. "Let heaven itself see the strength of the emperor's will." When Takatori returned home, he found Kaguya standing in the bamboo grove, her face lifted toward the stars. "Father," she said quietly, "you should not have done this." He took her hands. "I will not lose you, my child. Let them come, we will fight." Her eyes glistened with tears. "You cannot fight the light, father. When they come, I will have no power to resist." That night, she stood before the window, watching the moon rise higher and brighter than ever before. Its glow painted the world in silver. A strange music drifted through the air, faint, ethereal, like voices singing from far beyond the clouds. Kaguya turned to her parents. "It has begun," she whispered. "They are coming." Ono fell to her knees, clutching her daughter's robe. "Please, tell them you wish to stay. Tell them we are your family." Tears ran down Kaguya's face as she embraced her mother. "I will never forget you, but my heart, it belongs to both worlds now." Outside, soldiers took their posts, gripping their spears, eyes fixed on the glowing moon. The air trembled with a soft hum. Then, a beam of light pierced the night sky, descending like a silver river. From it, figures emerged, luminous beings dressed in flowing robes, their feet never touching the ground. The soldiers raised their weapons, but the light was blinding. Their strength melted away. Even the bravest among them fell to their knees in awe and fear. Kaguya stepped toward the door, her face serene. "They have come for me," she said. "Do not be afraid." Takatori clung to her arm, voice breaking. "Kaguya, please, stay." She looked at him, her father, who had loved her as his own, who had found her in the glowing bamboo and given her a home, and she smiled through her tears. You gave me a life no moon could ever offer. I will carry your love with me always." As the light grew brighter, her feet lifted from the ground. The heavens were calling, and the song of the moon grew louder, soft, pure, and sorrowful, and when she vanished into the silver radiance, all the world fell silent. The night the moon came for Princess Kaguya would be remembered for centuries. The night heaven itself touched the earth. The air grew still as silver mist rolled through the bamboo forest. Even the crickets fell silent. Above, the full moon swelled until it filled the sky, glowing with an unearthly brilliance that washed the land in pale light. The soldiers, stationed by the emperor's command, stood trembling, unable to look away. Some thought they saw faces in the moonlight.com, radiant beings descending on beams of silver. From that glow emerged a procession of celestial figures, robed in garments woven from light. Their hair shimmered like flowing starlight, and their eyes glowed with compassion beyond mortal understanding. They moved gracefully through the air, untouched by earth or wind. At their center, a tall figure carried a golden scroll, the decree of the Moon Kingdom. Within the humble home, Takatori held his daughter close as tears streaked his weathered face. Ono clung to Kaguya's sleeve, sobbing, "Don't go, don't leave us." Kaguya's heart broke at the sound. Her arms trembled as she embraced them. "I do not wish to go," she whispered, her voice trembling like a flute in the wind. "But their light binds me. My time here is over." The door creaked open on its own, as if the moonlight itself commanded it. The silver beings entered, their presence filling the small house with a calm, sacred silence. One, who appeared to be their leader, a woman crowned with a ring of light, stepped forward. Her voice was gentle, like a lullaby. "Princess Kaguya, daughter of the moon, your exile among mortals has ended. The Emperor of Heaven calls you home." Takatori fell to his knees, his voice cracking with grief. "Please, she is our child. Let her stay, she belongs to us now." The Moon Maiden looked at him kindly. "You have been blessed beyond measure. Good man, you were chosen to raise one of heaven's own. The love you have given her will be remembered among the stars." Kaguya turned to her parents, her tears glimmering like diamonds. "Father, mother, I was sent to this world to learn the pain and beauty of human life, and you gave me love, the greatest gift of all." Her mother's cries filled the room. "Then take us with you. Do not leave us behind." But Kaguya shook her head gently. "Mortals cannot live where I am going. But one day, when you look to the moon, know that I am watching over you." She reached into her sleeve and drew out a small silken letter, sealed with the mark of the moon. "Give this to the Emperor," she said softly. "It is my farewell." The leader of the moon beings raised a silver veil and placed it over Kaguya's shoulders. The moment the cloth touched her skin, her sorrow seemed to fade. The grief in her eyes softened into serenity, as though she were waking from a long dream. "Do you not wish to stay?" the leader asked gently. Kaguya hesitated for a heartbeat, her gaze falling upon her parents, their hands clasped together, trembling, faces bathed in moonlight. "With all my heart," she whispered, "but love cannot chain what is born of heaven." And then, as the celestial music began, soft, mournful flutes echoing through the night, the procession rose into the air. Kaguya's body lifted gracefully, her hair and robes streaming like liquid silver. Takatori reached out, his cry lost in the song of the moon. For one final moment, she looked back. A single tear fell from her cheek, shimmering as it drifted downward, and where it touched the earth, a small white flower bloomed, glowing faintly in the night. The villagers who watched from afar fell to their knees as the moon chariot ascended. The sky pulsed with light, and the clouds parted like a silver sea. Slowly, the procession disappeared into the heavens until the last glimmer of radiance faded. Then came silence. When dawn arrived, the forest was still. The soldiers awoke as if from a dream, unable to recall what they had seen. Only Takatori and Ono remembered it clearly, and their home, once filled with laughter, now seemed unbearably empty. Ono wandered through the rooms, touching the things Kaguya had left behind: her comb, her folded kimono, the lamp by her window. "She was light," she whispered, her voice breaking, "and light cannot stay with us." Takatori placed a hand on her shoulder. "No," he said softly, gazing toward the fading moon, "but she will never truly leave. The moon will keep her, and she will watch over us until our days are done." Outside, in the bamboo grove, the wind stirred gently, and for an instant, a soft glow brushed across the leaves, as though Kaguya's spirit passed by one last time, whispering her farewell. The moon had taken her back, yet her memory lingered on earth like the scent of flowers after rain. For days, Takatori and Ono lived in silence. The once warm cottage felt cold and hollow without Kaguya's laughter. The nights were the hardest. The moonlight that once seemed gentle now pierced their hearts. Takatori would sit by the doorway, staring at the moon, his eyes swollen from tears. He whispered her name as though she might somehow hear it carried by the wind. "Kaguya, my daughter." Was it all a dream? But it was not a dream. Every bamboo stalk that swayed seemed to echo her presence. Every whisper of the wind, a faint trace of her farewell. One evening, as Takatori returned from the forest, he found a royal messenger waiting outside their home. The man's armor gleamed faintly under the setting sun, and in his hands he held a small golden box. He bowed deeply. From His Majesty, the Emperor of Japan, it was delivered by a light from the heavens, said to be from Princess Kaguya herself. Ono gasped, rushing forward. From Kaguya, Takatori took the box with trembling hands. His heart raced as he broke the seal, revealing a letter written on moonlight silk, its letters glowing faintly even in the dusk. Inside lay a small vial filled with liquid so pure it reflected the stars, the elixir of immortality. The letter read, "To His Majesty, who offered his heart to one unworthy of such love, I have returned to the realm of light, but I remember his kindness. Take this elixir, that you may never know death. Yet if your heart yearns still for the mortal world, burn it, and remember me not as a goddess, but as the woman who once wept beneath the moon." It was signed Kaguya, of the Moon Kingdom. When the message reached the emperor, he held it in silence. His court gathered around him, whispering tales of how celestial maidens had descended upon the bamboo forest, how the princess had risen to the moon like a star, returning home. The emperor, however, felt no awe, only sorrow. He looked upon the vial in his hand and saw not a gift, but a reminder of love lost beyond time and realm. Immortality, he murmured, what use is it, when she is gone? He gazed at the pale moon outside his window. Its light reflected in his eyes, but it offered no warmth. For many nights, he stood upon the palace balcony, staring upward, hoping to glimpse her again, a shadow, a whisper, anything. But the moon remained distant, silent, unfeeling. At last, he called his most trusted general. Take this elixir, he said, handing over the vial and letter. Climb to the highest mountain in the land, the one closest to the heavens, and burn them there. Let the smoke rise to the moon, that she may know I refused eternity without her. The general obeyed. With 1,000 soldiers and the emperor's banner, they ascended Mount Fuji, whose peak glistened under the stars. The night wind howled around them, carrying with it the faint sound of flutes, as though spirits of the heavens listened. At the summit, the general built a great pyre. He placed the emperor's letter upon it, along with the elixir of immortality. Then, as dawn touched the horizon, he set it aflame. The fire burned high, golden and fierce, sending its smoke spiraling into the heavens. The people below watched in awe as it rose, curling into the morning sky until it vanished among the clouds, as if carrying the emperor's message to Kaguya herself. From that day on, it was said that the smoke of Mount Fuji never ceased, rising forever toward the moon as a symbol of the emperor's undying love. Even the mountain's name, Fuji, meaning immortal, was given in memory of the elixir he chose to destroy. Back in the bamboo forest, Takatori and Ono stood together, watching the faint column of smoke far in the distance. Tears glimmered in Ono's eyes. Do you think she saw it? Takatori nodded slowly, his voice breaking. Yes, she saw, and she smiled. That night, as the full moon rose once again, brighter than ever, a soft silver light bathed their home, and for a fleeting instant, they both saw her Kaguya standing among the clouds, her eyes filled with peace, her hands folded in blessing. Then the light faded, leaving behind only the moon, vast and silent. Ono whispered, "Farewell, my daughter." And Toka, gazing upward with trembling lips, murmured, "Rest in the light, Moon Princess." The wind carried their words upward, and somewhere beyond the veil of stars, Kaguya heard. Years passed since the Night Princess Kaguya returned to the moon, yet her story lived on in the hearts of those who had known her, and even those who had not. The villagers still whispered of the girl from the bamboo stalk, the one whose light outshone the stars, and whose heart had bridged heaven and earth. The bamboo grove, once quiet, had become a sacred place. People came from far and wide to leave offerings, white lilies, folded paper cranes, or moon-shaped stones, hoping for blessings of love, peace, or forgiveness. Though she was gone, the air still shimmered faintly under the moonlight, as if her spirit lingered, watching silently over all. For Takatori and Ona, life went on, though each day felt touched by something divine. They aged gently, their hair turning silver like the moon they loved to gaze upon. Yet whenever they looked up at the night sky, the grief that had once consumed them softened into something tender, a quiet joy that came from knowing their daughter was free. One night, on the anniversary of her departure, the couple returned to the grove. The moon was full and glowing with a brilliance so pure that it bathed the entire forest in silver. Takatori lit a small lantern and placed it among the bamboo stalks. She must be watching, Ono said softly, her eyes misty. He nodded, and smiling, as they stood there, a soft wind stirred the trees. The leaves whispered like distant voices, and in the moonlight, they thought they saw something shimmering among the mist. The faint, graceful form of Kaguya, her robes flowing like clouds, her eyes warm with love. No words were spoken, but her presence was enough. Takatori felt a peace he had never known. My little one, he whispered, thank you for choosing to be ours, even for a short while. The vision faded with the wind, but the glow remained. That night, they returned home, their hearts light as moonbeams far across the land. In the emperor's palace, the legend of the Moon Princess had become eternal. The story of the emperor who burned the gift of immortality for love spread through generations. Poets sang of it, artists painted her face, and children fell asleep under stories of the princess who loved both heaven and earth. Sometimes, When the emperor looked toward Mount Fuji, he could still see the faint line of smoke rising into the heavens, curling delicately toward the moon. And though his years passed swiftly, he never regretted his choice. For even without immortality, his heart had known something eternal, a love that reached beyond life and death. He would say to his courtiers, "Some souls shine so brightly, they cannot be kept. They belong to the light, and to our memories." Centuries later, as the empire changed, and generations faded, the tale endured. The bamboo grove still grew tall under the moon, and on certain nights, travelers swore they saw a radiant figure walking among the stalks, a woman with luminous eyes, her face serene, her footsteps silent. They called her the Moonlight Princess, protector of lovers, guide of the lost, and spirit of eternal compassion. Those who wandered with heavy hearts claimed that when they sat in her grove beneath the full moon, the sorrow within them eased, as if a gentle voice whispered, "You are not alone." The villagers built a small shrine in her honor. Its roof was shaped like a crescent moon, and each festival night, they released paper lanterns into the sky, their golden lights floating upward until they vanished among the stars. A tribute to the princess who once fell from heaven to teach humans the meaning of love and loss. As the centuries rolled by, even when empires crumbled and new lands rose, the story of Kaguya remained. It was no longer just a tale of sorrow, it had become a song of light, a reminder that beauty, though fleeting, leaves behind something everlasting. And so, every full moon night, when the world is bathed in silver and the air feels sacred, some say if you listen closely, you can still hear her, Princess Kaguya, singing softly from the heavens. Her song carries through the bamboo leaves and over the mountains, a melody woven from love, memory, and light. It whispers, "All who love will meet again." For love is the bridge between the earth and the moon. The wind sighs, the stars shimmer, and the moon glows brighter, as though the heavens themselves remember the girl of the bamboo, the Moonlight Princess, whose legend will never fade. Thus ends Moonlight Princess, the legend of Kaguya, the tale of a love so pure, it touched both heaven and earth.